Hey, I'm Susan Palmer of Lead Cat Press. This is my studio update. Thanks so much for tuning in. As always, please visit the description box below so you can hop on over to the topic or lesson material that most interests you. And I should note that this studio update is designed for my current students. I'm covering little lessons or little topics of things that we went over in our lessons, and I just wanted to give my students an added bonus so that they have some more reference material in between our lessons. Now, if you're interested in taking lessons with me, please visit my website, leadcatpress.com, and email me. Please let me know your experience level and kind of what you're looking to get out of guitar lessons right now, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So enjoy this week's studio update, and I hope to see you soon. In episode 50, I took a bebop lick that uses octave displacement, and I broke it down and explained it, and then I took it through all 5 positions in the key of C using the cage system. And this week what I want to do is demonstrate how you can play this lick through all 12 keys in 5th-ish position, and I have a backing track going as well just to make it a little more understandable of what's going on with it. This kind of brings up an important point. I know a lot of teachers will say, you know, learn a lick and take it through 12 keys, play it in every single position possible by next week. And I'm not that kind of teacher because I know that a lot of students just get hung up on it and they don't make a lot of progress. So my teaching strategy is always to take a concept and break it down, walk students partially the way through that concept so that they have enough information and understanding as to what I'm looking for that following week. And then the next week, I check their work. And that's something that not a lot of teachers do as well these days. So I'm really adamant about breaking things down, especially a big concept like learning licks in all 12 keys, and just helping students kind of learn a pathway for how best they can internalize those licks, because that's really what it's about. It's internalizing the licks, understanding that language, putting it into your playing, seeing it, see how it falls on the guitar neck, and giving yourself the most possible choices when you're improvising. One thing I mention fairly often in my studio is that learning music is like walking a spiral staircase. The fundamentals of music don't change, but each time we go around, our perspective changes a little bit. We gain perspective each time we walk around. And I bring this up because when students hit their 5th position reading studies, and specifically on page 83, where they're playing the notes A, B, and C on the low E string, and D, E, and F on the A string, they have an opportunity to go back and revisit the earlier rhythm studies that they did on both the D string and the A string, because the notes are the same. So when a student hits page 83, I will often have them go back and revisit pages 34 and 46. And these are in the Guitar Lesson Companion Volume 1. And on those rhythm pages, I get to kind of see how much of the information has actually stuck with them. So they're introduced to 8th note rests, ties, and dotted quarter notes. They have single 8th notes. And it's just a good opportunity to kind of see where things are at. But what I usually find is that students are pretty amazed because that information has stuck. And that's kind of my teaching strategy. I'm always joking that I want my students to know this stuff when they're 90 years old. And I really mean it. And so that's why I'm constantly having them kind of walk around the spiral staircase and, gaining that new perspective. If you dig that chord riff, use the link to my website in the description box below and get the PDF. It's $5 and you'll feel great about supporting music education today. One reason students sign up for lessons with me is because of my attention to detail. And specifically, when we enter our kind of hardcore improvisation studies, that includes learning chord tones up the neck. I'm the kind of teacher who has students say the note names out loud. I have pretty clear rubrics about what is expected of each student in order to make the gains that they want to see. And, I'm testing them on that stuff all the time and giving them my honest assessment of where they're at and their understanding. With that, we apply licks, we apply tunes, and, we keep the music going for sure. But I'm kind of a drill sergeant when it comes to, having students really internalize this material. I think it's really important. Now, that being said, there are some instances where a student has a necessity, a gig or, something happening in school, and they need to apply a concept immediately. They need to learn it much faster than what my preferred method of teaching them would be. And I want to show you just a little kind of way that, a little thing that I use when something like that happens. So let's say a band director tells their student, their guitar player, you need to play more outside. You need to play more altered scale. And I know that, a student doesn't know their arpeggios yet. And so teaching them the altered scale at that point, even if I were to teach it just one note at a time or a couple licks, it's just not going to be very effective. And so the strategy that I use over a 2-5-1 for the key of C, so that's D minor, G7, C major, I would have the student play A minor pentatonic, which they all know. Everybody learns that like in their first couple weeks of guitar lessons with me or somebody else, I'm sure. And you can use that over the D minor 7 chord. Yes, not all of the tones are going to be specific to that D minor chord. There's a lot of ear you need to use in order to make that sound correct. But you can play A minor pentatonic, and everybody kind of knows that shape. You could also think of that as C major pentatonic. But, for simplistic reasons, I keep calling that A minor pentatonic. Over the G7 chord, the G7 altered, I'll have them move that A minor pentatonic scale pattern up a half step. So now they're playing B flat minor pentatonic. And that contains a lot of the notes that are in the altered scale. Over for a G7 chord, we have B flat, that would be the sharp 9. We have D flat, there's our flat 5. We have D sharp, there's our sharp 5. We have the flat 7, which is F. And then we have A flat, which is our flat 9. So we've got those altered tones in there. So technically, you can play B flat minor pentatonic that everybody knows over that G7 chord. And then when the chord progression resolves back to C major, you could theoretically scoot back and play A minor pentatonic again over that last chord. You could think of it as A minor pentatonic. You could think of it as C major pentatonic. But that's how, I would break down in a real applicable sense how to play altered if somebody really needed to learn how to use that really quick. And let me just kind of demo what that sounds like, just very simplistically. Here's A minor pentatonic, B flat minor, A minor. Now, would you know that a student or a person that had not studied all of their chord tones and, learned all the notes on the neck and gone through all the reading studies and done all the work behind that? Maybe, but if someone's in a jam, someone's in a bind, and they need to play altered, that's one way to do that. So I hope that is helpful, especially for my students who are in that situation right now and just need a reminder of how that little trick works. I'm looking at the 5th bar of Polka Dots and Moonbeams, and I've got the chord D minor, followed by B flat minor 6. And when a lot of students are first working on this tune, they ask me, what's a good voicing for B flat minor 6? And the first thing I do is I have them play a B flat minor 7 chord, and then I have them tell me what the flat 7 is, which is A flat. They lower that a half step to G, it becomes the 6th, and then they've got that perfect B flat minor 6 chord in a way that they understand. So D minor to B flat minor 6. Now with that B flat minor 6 chord, there's a few different chords that all contain the same notes. And the way that that can become useful for guitar players is when you're trying to use good voice leading, good chord movement from chord to chord so that it sounds seamless, it sounds intentional. And so if you can think of another chord shape that shares those notes, that has, it'll have the same notes as B flat minor 6, that may be to your advantage to use. It's for sure is, worth your time in experimenting with this and exploring it. So another chord that has the same notes in it as B flat minor 6 is A7, sharp 5, and flat 9, which is this right here. So a lot of students of mine anyways, they learn this as, one of their first altered chord shapes. And so this would be really nice if you're, here's a D minor 7. And then I'm going to resolve that down to A7, sharp 5, flat 9. So that's kind of an interesting move. Another one that's a little easier for a lot of students is to think of the B flat minor 6 as an E flat dominant 9 chord. And when you do that, we get this nice little voice leading going from this root note from D to E flat, which is kind of cool right there. So we have D minor and then E flat 9. So we have two different, kind of substitutions, I guess, that you could use for that B flat minor 6, even though they're the same notes. It's just for guitar players, it helps us to think about this in different ways. Another substitution you can use or way that you can think about this is a G minor 7 flat 5 chord. And so here's a nice G minor 7 chord, and I'm going to lower the 5th, which is the note D here. There's my flat 5. So now I have D flat, G, B flat, and F. And same notes, but this one would work really well if we wanted to half step down from that root note. So we have D minor, and then G minor 7 flat 5. So there's a couple different ways to think about that B flat minor 6 chord. So that really opens up a big can of worms, but I guess maybe that's one thing I'm trying to do. This little lesson here is get you excited about, wow, there's a whole nother world to explore. What can you do with that? So I don't know, explore that, have some fun with that. If you have questions, reach out for a lesson or bring that up in your next lesson. My pro tip for you this week is simple. I want you to learn how to play simple melodies all over the guitar. It could be something like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star or Happy Birthday. But learn it in as many different places as you can on the neck. By doing that, you are reaching into your musical imagination and connecting those notes, connecting your imagination to the instrument. So start with really simple melodies like that. Maybe think about harmonizing them and play them in as many different places as you can.